Great evening. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Talking with Tabatha. I am your host, Tabatha Struther. Are you ready to be inspired, encouraged, uplifted, educated, and perhaps you need just a great laugh? Well, you know you will get all of that right here. So go ahead and relax. Get your favorite beverage and make sure that you're drinking it from your Talking with Tabatha tumbler. Now it is getting a little cold outside, so perhaps you would like something a little warm. Make sure you're drinking it from your Talking with Tabatha mug. And whatever you get comfortable because you know you're going to enjoy this episode. So again, thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and get comfortable. Be sure to let someone know that you have tuned in and invite them to tune in as well. Thank you and enjoy this episode of Talking with Tabatha. So again, great evening or afternoon for some. We are here with my sister in Christ, my business partner, because we are partners. We are a part of Broke to Profitable, which I encourage you all to join. Yes, seek our sister Otesia Johnson, who is the owner, right, and our business coach of Broke to Profitable, because we just came back a few weeks ago from our business retreat, right?
And it was amazing.
What an awesome time we had.
It was absolutely amazing.
What an awesome time we had. I mean, I'm just now starting to come down off that high from up there and being by the water. And listen, this is how God sets us up, because we had morning prayer, we laughed together, we cried together, we made TikTok videos together, we had counseling sessions with the Taisha together, we made candles together, we prepared meals together, we did so much together. So it was growing our business and sisterhood together there in the mountains. So I do thank God for you, my sister. I really do.
Yeah.
I can't tell you all about Taisha. She's going to have to do that. But Legacy Empowerment Services in Charlotte, North Carolina. She is the owner and operator. So we don't have to go far for those of you who are in South Carolina. She's right there in Charlotte, North Carolina. But she also is on a fitness journey. So before we get into seeing what's in our file cabinet, I want you to tell our viewers about your fitness journey.
Yes, I'm so excited. I was just telling you a minute ago, I made a post earlier today about, me celebrating. Every year I celebrate my fitness journey, and particularly the last 5 years where I've been able to be binge-free, eating binge-free. And so what that means is that, sometimes, especially in the Black community, women in the Black community are becoming the number one candidates, you could say, for eating disorders or disordered eating. And I found myself in that particular predicament, 5 years ago. And all my life, what I experienced was I would overeat, and then I would restrict myself because I felt bad about my eating and my eating habits. And I would restrict myself, meaning I would stop eating or I would over-exercise. I would just punish myself, right? And so I got into this habit of eating, overeating, and then not eating enough, and then feeling bad and not being able to take it anymore because I restricted myself so much, and then I would overeat, and it just became this cycle. And before I knew it, it became something that became a thing for me. It became a disorder, an eating disorder, where I would binge, and then I would, do that whole laxative, starvation, that type of thing. And we don't always recognize, especially in the Black community, that is really setting us up for straight up eating disorders. And we when we look at those laxatives and detox teas and fast and all that things, that's setting us up. And so that's what I found myself in. But in the last 5 years, Tabatha, I've been able to really just take care of myself on the inside. And because I've been taking care of myself, it has helped me to maintain 172 pounds weight loss. And so I lost weight, all my life. I made this post. I was being funny. I said, all my life I had to fight. All my life I've been up and down, yo-yo dieting. But within the last 5 years, I've been able to find so much peace and actually have some ice cream and some cake while I'm at it. But making peace with food, and food is not my enemy anymore. And so my fitness journey has been one about how do I maintain my weight, which is important for us. Our physical health is so important. I also mentioned that I had this cancer scare. Sometimes we don't know it all, right? But God reveals. And one of my biggest prayers was that God, don't let anything catch me off guard. And so I prayed that prayer, and God always tells me, he always warns me ahead of time if something's about to happen. And so one day I had this elective surgery. And during the elective surgery, the surgeons found a tumor in my body that I had no idea was growing. And they said that it was cancerous. And so I had to have another surgery to remove that tumor. And they had to remove some other organs. And so, when they start removing organs, it gets really serious, right? And so that made me even more concerned about my health. And so I kind of went on this journey of, being more plant-based. I still eat bacon from now and again. I still eat my cheese, but I'm more plant-based. And so, my fitness journey has been just, inside out fitness is what I call it, meaning that you address your inside, and your insides, because you are addressing your insides, you're able to maintain what's happening on the outside of you. And so that's pretty much my fitness journey. And I am in this competition, not even a competition, a showcase tomorrow called the Be Amazing Showcase, where we are going to celebrate our journeys. We're going to celebrate our bodies. And I just came back tonight from practicing for that showcase for tomorrow. And I'm super excited. So I'm celebrating. I'm in celebration mode right now. So I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited for you, Taisha. I really, really am. I am just amazed that you are doing so well. Well, you know what? I'm not amazed, because you're putting in the work. You are putting in the work. And when you put in the work, you get something out of it. And you are not just keeping it to yourself, because you are bringing us along with you, and you are sharing the knowledge. So thank you, my sister. I greatly appreciate you for how you are supporting others. And for those of you who remember our Women's Expo, Taisha was in it.
I was in it. I was in it. I wrote this journal last year, actually almost a year ago, about just being able to celebrate and embrace your body. And so I've been on that. That's a part of my journey. Like, once you get to a certain weight, you think that you're good, but now you look at your body and you're like, I still don't measure up. I'm still not enough. And so part of my journey has been just being able to say, Taisha, you are enough just as you are. God made you wonderfully. God made you beautifully. He was strategic in making you. And so being able to really understand that and own it and make it a part of my heart has been a part of my journey too. It never stops, right? Our journeys never stop. There are depths to it, heights to it, lengths to it. So our journeys just never stop.
They never stop. And, that kind of takes us into what we are talking about this evening. What's in your file cabinet? Samuel L. Jackson says, what's in your wallet? Tonight, we're talking about what's in your file cabinet. We all have a file cabinet or two. And
or two. Some of us have an office full of file cabinets, right?
Right. We're not necessarily talking about the ones that's on the wall, right? The drawers that you pull out. But what's in your mind? Those are the file cabinets that we're talking about tonight, and how we can unpack them, because Taisha is a therapist. Woo! Yeah. A lot of people, especially in the Black community, or not just that, but in the Christian community, like to shy away from that word, therapist. But I do believe the Bible tells us that we should seek godly counsel, and we should seek wise counsel. And sometimes that is, we don't have to necessarily lie on a couch these days, especially with Zoom and all other streaming services and things of that sort. However, talk to someone. When you were speaking of the eating disorder, sometimes it's because of what we have stored away in our file cabinets.
Absolutely.
That causes us to eat so much, binge eat.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to be transparent here. A few weeks ago, I told my husband, you know what? I'm getting depressed again. I'm getting in that depressed state because of a pain that I was having. And I think I shared it in one of our groups. I was like, this pain in my foot is really getting to me where I could hardly walk and do certain things. I would do what I needed to do. But as soon as I could get home, I was taking that shoe off because it was just so horrific. And I was like, what is this? You know, you can't pray certain pains away. God gives us common sense. And I was like, I'm going to have to go to the doctor. As though I've dealt with fibromyalgia and lived with it for years, I do not like going to doctors.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And so I was sitting there eating something, and I said, this is not right, and this is not me. And I thank God, like you said, he didn't let anything sneak up on you. My great-grandmother would say, if you walk with God, baby, he won't let anything sneak up on you.
Ever.
So I told my husband, I said, this is not right. This is not me. And he was like, what are you talking about? I said, this is what I do when I get depressed or something's bothering me, I eat. And I said, no, I've lost weight. I'm not going back there. And we know Oticia and Millie say, I'm not going back to Egypt.
I know that's right.
Something about this.
I know that's right.
So let's talk about what's in our file cabinet. And as you were helping us in the mountains, and we were dealing with some things. So let's talk about it. Go ahead, because we can talk about this all night.
Yeah, I love this conversation, and I think that you're so on point that so many people, Black people historically, do not seek counseling. We seek church, right? You know, church is a huge, huge part of the Black community. And so we go to our leaders in the church to feel better mentally, emotionally. And unfortunately, in the church community, mental health is something that's stigmatized. And a lot of people have been grown to believe and have been developed to believe that mental health is in opposition to your faith, or mental health, you can't have a counselor and seek therapy because that means that you're not trusting God. But what I believe, Tabatha, is that God created us very strategically. He created us, he thought about everything. He made us three-part beings: body, soul, and spirit. And so everything in terms of being in harmony is supposed to be in harmony for us to be fully functioning human beings, right? And so what happens is that we pay attention to our spirit. We even sometimes pay attention to our bodies, meaning what we eat. We may go to the gym. But when it comes to that soul, when it comes to our soul, we sometimes don't pay attention to our soul. And that's where the mental health component comes in, because all the mental health struggles that we have are components of our soul: our mind, our will, our emotions, our personality, our intellect. All of that is our soul. And so God thought about that. And to be honest with you, I really believe that if we address our soul, we address, our mental health issues, then it supports our spiritual health, in the sense that if you can really think about when you feel bound in your life, spiritually bound, a lot of times it's because you have come into agreement with a lie of the enemy. And if you can come out of agreement with that lie, you can be free spiritually.
That's right.
So sometimes counseling helps you to identify, what are the lies that I have believed in my life? Growing up, what are the lies? And this kind of gets into what's in your file cabinet. So we have to have an understanding that, we are very evolved human beings, but we are also very primal. We're very primal. We have these instincts, right? The way that we have this brain, and the brain's purpose to keep us alive and to keep us safe. And in order to do that, it tries to make sense of everything that we're experiencing in life. We walk through this life and we're trying to make sense of it based on what we've already experienced. And so as we're walking through life, we're having these experiences, our brain is recording it. And it's placing what we experience in a file cabinet, inside of our minds, inside of our brain.
Right.
It's recording what we see. It's recording the sounds that we hear, what we smell, everything through our five senses. We experience the world through our five senses. So it's recording everything based on what we sense. So let's say, for instance, you're in a moment where you are, I use the example when we were in the mountains. I use the example of my 1-year-old. She's never experienced life before, right? And so everything that she's experiencing right now is totally new. Yeah. And so everything that she's experiencing is forming an imprint in her mind, or is going into her file cabinet. So she has her first experience with the dog. That's the example that I used. She's having her first experience with the dog, and that experience is really traumatic for her. Like, the dog bites her. Then she experiences that through her five senses. She's probably going to remember her heart rate starting to kind of speed up. She's going to remember her palms sweating. She's going to remember it hurts. She's going to remember what that dog looks like, that look in that dog's eyes. She's going to take in all of that information, and all of that information is going to get filed into her file cabinet. So then what happens? Like, then she kind of gets over that moment. She may have to go to the doctor. She gets over that moment. And then she experiences another dog. This dog may be a family dog. It's a perfect dog. It would never bite you. But because of what's in her file cabinet, her past experiences, she's not going to recognize that dog is a friendly dog. She's going to make an assumption that dog is going to be out to get her, that dog is going to bite her. And then so she's going to act in that moment just like how she acted when she first experienced that dog that was very traumatic for her. And we might be looking at her like, what is going on with this girl? This is our favorite dog. But she's like, no, I'm in danger right now. Y'all better rescue me. Because of what's in her file cabinet. So your file cabinet is composed of your thoughts about the world, your thoughts about yourself, and your thoughts about people. All of that is in your file cabinet, and it's based on everything that you've experienced in your life up until this point. And sometimes what happens is that we stay so stuck in the past, especially if we've had repeated experiences, the same experiences that were repeated. It tends to cement that original thought in our mind that this is how it is, when that may not be reality. It's just based on what you've experienced. It's in your file cabinet. And until you begin to unpack what's there and pay attention to what's there and actually look at it, like, what is in my file cabinet, and look at it, uncover it, test it out, confront it. Is this really true? Or is this just my experience? Am I believing a lie because of what's in my file cabinet? And if that is the truth, then we have a responsibility.
Well, you say to look in it, right? To look in our file cabinets, to open up our file cabinets, and to look in it. How does one do that? How do we actually open up that file cabinet, look in those drawers? Because once I open it up and look into that folder, again, you just said I have a responsibility. So first of all, how do I open it up and actually look inside?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, God is so strategic. And what I believe helps us to know what's in our file cabinet is our experiences with people. Like, God created us to be communal beings, meaning that we were put on this earth to have relationships with people. And those relationships are supposed to strengthen us, supposed to make, what's that saying, that iron sharpens iron? So our relationships with people is what helps us to identify what's in our file cabinet, because people are going to rub you the wrong way. They are going to trigger you. And that word trigger is the key. And you can know that there's something there based on how you interact with someone. How, if you become triggered in a particular situation, then you can know that's something in my file cabinet I need to address. So to answer your question, how do I know? Have relationships with people. And when you get triggered, that lets you know that it's something in you that is unhealed and it's in your file cabinet that you need to pull up and you need to confront. It's never about, like, it could be about someone else. Like, they could be doing you wrong. They can do you dirty. But to be honest with you, Tabatha, even if someone's doing you dirty and it is triggering to you, then that is still something about you that you have to address. It's never about them. It is always about you. Because if it's something unhealed in you, or if it's something healed, then that trigger would not find a place. It would not find a place. But if you think about like a light switch, and you turn the light switch on, that light switch turns the light on because there's something connected to it, right?
Right.
But the light switch that's on the wall is just the trigger. But if it's not connected, it's not going to turn anything on. So if something touches you on the inside and it triggers something, that means that there's something unhealed in you. And that's how you know for sure that there's something in your file cabinet that you need to address.
Now that's deep. Taisha, that's really deep, because I'm sitting here thinking and saying, before you even said it, I was like, okay, it's always about me, not someone else.
It's about you.
And then you begin to say, if someone is doing you wrong, and you're thinking, but they're doing me wrong. But still, I had someone to say, he would always say, it's not about how they treat you. It's not about how you treat me, but it's all about how I treat you. Yeah. So it's never about how a person treats you. It's how you treat them, your response. So
it's about your response.
That's what you're saying. So once I open up my file cabinet and I take that folder out and I open it up and I hit some things, because let's be honest, all of us have something in our file cabinet. Mm-hmm. Is something that's going to turn that switch on and trigger something in us. But we all have some work to do.
All of us.
All have some work to do. And you said something when we were in the mountains, that trauma happens in the moment when we can't rescue ourselves.
Yeah.
And you told us 4 things. The 4 stress responses, I believe: fighting, fleeing, freezing, and fawn.
Yeah.
Can you just hit on those for us? Because I know, Sherry and I we were just taking notes. I know we weren't the only ones, but we were right beside each other. So we were really taking notes. Mm-hmm. And I said, wow, she's really going to have to explain that, because I know I wasn't the only one that was like, that speaks volumes. Because sometimes when a trauma happens, and we're not talking about physical, even though it could be a physical trauma. Mm-hmm. But when trauma happens, and, we're talking about therapy here, most of the time you're in a fight or flight situation. Mm-hmm. But speak to us about these responses.
Yeah. So, I was saying earlier today about how, our brain's responsibility is to keep us alive and to keep us safe. Mm-hmm. And in moments where we are feeling like we're not able to keep ourselves safe, for whatever reason, what happens is that our brain, our body starts to activate. Like, our brain will say to our bodies, we're not safe. We need to do something to keep ourselves safe so that we can get out of here and make it and be alive and be okay for next time. And so your body will begin to send messages to other parts of your brain. Hey, activate, get some adrenaline going, do this, like do something, so that we can get out of here, okay? And so there are 4 different things that our body will do in response to stress. Now, we can't control which one we do. And sometimes we judge ourselves based on our stress, our natural stress response. But typically we have a primary stress response and a secondary stress response, the way that we respond. The first one is to fight. That adrenaline gets pumping and we just go. We can become aggressive. We can become agitated. We can fight with our words, or we can fight with our hands, our body. We can throw things. People that are fighting just always aggressive. People that get agitated may antagonize. That's how you know that you're fighting. Another stress response is when someone is freezing. Freezing is when you just kind of just go somewhere else. I don't feel like I can help. Like if you think about an animal in the wild, like when the lion is chasing the animal and the animal just just literally just drops and plays dead. That's what freezing looks like, just playing dead. That can look like, going into a depressive state. Like I'm so overwhelmed that I just go into a depressed state where I can't do anything. I just shut off. I get in my bed and I just go to sleep. That's what freezing looks like. Another stress response is to run. That animal in the wild, the animal is chasing, I'm going to run. I'm going to take off. You're not going to catch me. Right? So that could look like, when you're supposed to be doing a project or a task, you being on social media and strolling. That could look like if you're in a relationship and you are trying to avoid a particular conversation, you avoiding it by busying yourself with other things. That's running. You're running away from what the threat is, from what makes you feel unsafe. And then the last one is something that is relatively new to science, and that's fawning. That is when you make friends with whatever the trigger is, whatever the predator is. You make friends with it in the hope that, you'll leave me alone. If I'm friends with you, you're not going to hurt your friend, right? So you make friends. And so these are the people pleasers. So people that people please, people that just, may laugh and joke instead of fighting or running or freezing. They laugh and they joke. That is a way to fawn, to make friends with whatever the threat is in hopes that you will stay safe. And we don't, like I said, we don't get to choose which one. We are just given it. It's just like biology. Like your eyes are brown, my eyes are brown. You're given a stress response, a primary way that you do it. But it's really important that you recognize, how do I respond to stress? Because that's how you notice how to support yourself. And not only that, Tabatha, but if we can recognize, like if we have loved ones like a husband or a child, recognizing their stress response. So I found, like I do a lot of couples counseling. And in couples counseling, sometimes people that are married, one person is a fighter, the other person is a runner. Can you imagine how a marriage is with a runner and a fighter? So the fighter thinks that you're running, so that means that you don't love me, right?
Right.
Because the fighter wants you to fight too, because that's how they are. So I expect you to do the same thing. Now you're running because you're threatened, because you're fighting me. So it becomes a cycle. So it's so important that not only do we recognize our own stress response, but we recognize the stress response style of other people that we love, so that we can know how to support ourselves and how to support other people. And we can be able to say, hey, if I'm running, if I'm freezing, if I'm doing all that, all it means is that my body is overwhelmed. My nervous system is overwhelmed. I don't feel safe in this moment. Something is feeling threatening to me because of something that's in my file cabinet that I have not confronted yet. So what we can do to support each other is to help each other feel safe. It's not about fussing and fighting. It's about, let me help you to feel safe. Because if I help you to feel safe, then you're going to come out of that stress response because you're safe. And then now we can deal with the problem. Now we can confront whatever it is. But if we are fighting one another and not recognizing that this person is overwhelmed in this moment, then we'll never solve it. We'll just keep fighting, and that person will get deeper and deeper into their hole.
Wow. That was deep. That was deep. And I was taking notes before and I wrote some things down. And this is so good. And it's just, accountability. Finding out what's in our file cabinets and taking that self-accountability, because we all need it, right? And so then it can not only help ourselves, but it will help in other relationships that we are in. And then I am quite sure that we'll be able to see perhaps if there is an eating disorder or other relational disorders and dysfunctions that we are trying to function in, then we'll be able to see, well, wait a minute, that's not right. And then we should be able to recognize whatever our primary
Stress response
is, and then, if we have a secondary stress response. So this has been some great information that you have shared with us, Taisha. Thank you so much for having a conversation with us, because truly during these COVID months, there has been so many stressors, and
we are all stressed right now.
Yes.
We during the pandemic, the floodgates have been opened and people have been flooding counseling. Like, I've been counseling for 20 years. I've never seen so many men, Black men, come into counseling. And when I say that they are coming in, like literally they are coming in and say, I cannot do this. And there are sometimes, Tabatha, that all they do is just cry because they are so overwhelmed. So the floodgates right now they're open, and people are recognizing that, you know what, I can't run from this anymore. I've got to address it. And to me, that's one of the most beautiful things that has happened in the last year, is that people have reconnected to themselves. And that is so beautiful. So if anyone is listening, if you recognize that, you know what, I have been running from myself. There are things in my file cabinet that I have not addressed, and it's causing me problems in my life. And I know that because I can't function day to day. I know that because I'm trying to have these relationships and they keep messing up. I'm jacking the relationships up. That's how, when I was 20 something years old, I was engaged to this guy, and he left me because he was like, you are dysfunctional, boo. That's how I started recognizing, you know what, I got some stuff in my file cabinet that I need to address. So your relationships show you. So if you are listening and you recognize through your relationships with yourself or other people at work, your children, if you recognize that this is not working, I encourage you to not allow stigma, to not allow fear, to not allow anything to stop you from getting the help that you need. Because at one time or another, we have all needed help. All of us. And it is an extension of your faith to take care of yourself, because God gave you this body, all of it. Your mind, he gave you, your soul, he gave you, your spirit, all of it is sacred and holy. So as an extension of your faith, allow yourself that opportunity to check out what's in your file cabinet so that you can be well, for real.
For real. Now is not the time to play with this thing called life. It really is not. And it's not the time to be trying to fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. That is over with as well. Let's do this thing, and let's do it the right way. Absolutely. And let's start by taking care of you, every part of you, mind, body, and soul. Yeah. Thank you, Taisha, so much. Taisha, tell our audience how they can connect with you if they would like to find out more about what's in their file cabinet and how to unpack it.
Yeah, so if you are on the web, you can go to my website, which is www.rehabilitateyourlife.com. Or if you're on social media, it is at Rehabilitate Your Life on Instagram and Facebook. And if you are into this whole body positivity, trying to work on your body, embrace your body, and you need a little bit of dose of encouragement, it's at Bodacious Body Love.
Again, Taisha, thank you so much. And to our Talking with the Tabatha audience, it is time. Now is time. Don't continue to try to think about it, and don't say, well, I'm going to pray about it. Well, God has answered your prayers. Don't be like the story that they say a flood came, and the man or woman, however the story you heard, was, waiting for the lifeline to come by, and God sent so many. Well, here's another lifeline, because again, in these COVID streets, there's a lot of stress, and we all have some form of stress, right? So let's find out what's in our file cabinets. Taisha has helped me with find out what's in my file cabinet, or is helping me, and we'll continue. She is located in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she has told us at Rehabilitate Your Life, right? And so that is how you can connect with her. We all have something in our file cabinets. We can all work on ourselves until, listen, and I say this often, if no one can tell you anything, if you are at the place that you can't learn anymore, you can't work on yourself anymore, then it's time for you to meet your maker. Because I don't care who you are, we still have work to do. Amen.
Absolutely. Amen.
We still have work to do. So Taisha, again, thank you so much for joining us today, because we all have work to do, and it has been a tremendous help just learning more about what's in our file cabinet and how we can address that, because again, we all have work to do. Our Talking with Tabatha audience, I am just so elated that Taisha was our first guest on season 3, my sister in Christ, and a great friend, and she will have you laughing. Okay, she will have you laughing.
I'm silly.
So, we love her so much, and thank you for tuning in. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all social media at Talking with Tabatha. I love you guys, and you know what I'm going to say. Say it with me. I love you, and there's absolutely, positively nothing you can do about it.
I love that.